Hey, we are here with Chris Pistorius, who is the founder of Kickstart Dental Marketing. They have been consistently listed as one of the top dental marketing companies in the country by UpCity, and they pretty much do everything that you need if you are a dental practice. They do online advertising, social media, front desk training, reactivation campaigns, SEO, website, managing your leads, figuring out your unique selling proposition, and ideal patient. So many things, so much to talk about. Chris, how the heck are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to have you on. And you know how podcasting goes. You never know who is driving by, who is listening. And ideally, hopefully, there is some dentist office who is struggling out there, who needs help, who needs the team at Kickstart Dental to really kickstart their practice into high gear. And I feel like as a layperson, a lot of these dentists really have so much of their social media dialed in. They consistently post on social media. They have beautiful graphics. They have testimonials. But from as an outsider, it looks extremely overwhelming. All the boxes to be checked, all the bells and whistles. And so as far as the way you see it, what's the average dentist office struggling with? Where are they stuck and what do they need help with?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I'll tell you, even 10 years ago, it was a much simpler process and probably more like 15 years ago, because back then you could put an ad in the Yellow Pages. I mean, who the hell even knows what Yellow Pages are anymore? But you could put an ad in the Yellow Pages, you could do a little direct mail, and you're kind of set. And it worked well, and that's kind of was the complexity of your marketing campaigns. Well, nowadays, there's 500 different places that you can market just online, right? So the internet's really caused, some complexity in marketing for not just dentists, but really any local businesses. So we created Kickstart Dental Marketing to kind of help untangle the web a little bit, if you will, and provide a safe place, if you will, for dentists and simplify some of this. And mostly our clients see us as kind of being their marketing department, their digital marketing department. So we have 12 years of experience in dental. We have a great pulse of what works for dentists and what doesn't. And we're able to kind of hit the ground running, take that stress of it out of them. They're great at being a dentist. Let them go run their dental practice. Let us be the ones that are driving new leads and new patients to the practice.
And when you find these dental offices, what's the starting point? Is it a matter of like they aren't doing marketing, they're doing marketing, but it's all themselves and they're so busy? Is it not paying off? What's the before picture look like?
It's a little bit of everything. What we see more often than not is that it is so complex and they don't know what to do and they don't know where to turn to. And sometimes they'll just kind of do what I call the ostrich method of marketing. And what will happen is they'll kind of stick their head in the sand and do nothing, right? And that's because it's too complex. They don't understand it. They don't want to make a bad decision and waste a bunch of money, right? So, and that's the worst thing that you can really do. If you want to compete, I mean, dentistry is more competitive now than it's ever been. I mean, if in most local cities, towns, there's multiple choices to go to the dentist. So you have to be able to compete. And digital marketing is where people are finding new dentists. And that's where you have to be visible. And not just visible, but you have to be found, which is the visibility part. But you have to give people a reason to choose you as well. And that's even a bigger part of it is, do you have a unique selling proposition? Why should somebody choose you versus the 50 other dentists in town? What is it that you do different, right? And we help with that part of the marketing process as well, because if we get that aligned and in place, then marketing becomes a little bit easier. We know who to target, where to target, and how to really talk to that particular market. So that's kind of the process, but we find dentists that are doing nothing right now. We find dentists that, perhaps are doing marketing now, but they're just not having a great experience with their current agency and they're looking for something a little bit different. So kind of all kinds of across the board people is what we find.
And that's interesting how you break that problem down into kind of more manageable pieces, right? You said that there's, first of all, the issue of being known at all, even being discovered at all. And then there's the issue of these days people, they do their research, they check reviews, there's a lot more education happening. And then there's this kind of like the uniqueness, this unique selling proposition. And on that point, as far as the USP, what comes to mind just in general is in my town, there's, I would say maybe 25, 30 dentists. Yeah. And the only ones that really come to mind as far as just like thinking of who I visualize is there's one that's a kid's dentist and their logo looks kind of like the cover of Highlights magazine, where it looks like
Yeah.
it's drawn in crayon. And then
Yeah.
there's another one where it's called like Symphony of Smiles or something, and there's like a piano in the front room, and it's kind of, I don't know, it stands out for some reason, and I'm like, I'm not sure what a piano has to do with a
Right.
dentist. So like how does a dentist be unique? Because it's like, well, everyone's got teeth, everyone needs teeth cleaned. How do you
Right.
get from just being just a dentist to something like that?
Yeah, it just kind of depends. But some examples are like we have a pediatric dentist who specializes in kids, obviously, and they have a part of their business that really encompasses like special needs kids. So we really, I mean, that's different. That's unique. Not all dentists do that. Not even all pediatric dentists do that. So that's something that we want to show people what they do, and it makes them very unique. For others, it can be we have a client that went to Harvard Dental School, right? Well, we don't want to overdo that, but we want to definitely highlight that, you look, this person went to a really good school. They graduated top in their class at Harvard School or Harvard Dental School. So for that particular situation, it's education and experience. So, it's a little different for each one. And that's where, a lot of other marketing companies think of a dentist as a dentist, right? And they'll take on, 20 clients in one city, and then they'll move on and go to the next city. Well, we're a little different. We only work with one practice in each market, and we don't believe a dentist is a dentist. We do believe that there's a unique selling proposition for each and every one of our clients, and that's what we try to really expose the most.
And how do you discover that? Like, if a dentist is top of their class in Harvard Dental School, is it a matter of like asking a bunch of questions, or like
Yep.
just like talking to them? Or like, how do you dig deep and arrive at something like that?
It's the first part of our process. Once they sign up with us, we have a kickoff meeting. It takes about an hour and a half, and it's with the dentist and his top staff. And we have kind of a set number of questions that we ask that drive towards figuring out what that unique selling proposition is. And then my team will strategize on how to word it and message it, and we're off to the races.
And so what do you think is like the low hanging fruit these days, as far as like, dentists, there's always a million things to be done, right? You need maybe like a website, or like text
Mm-hmm.
message reminders, or maybe like clean up bad reviews on social media. But would you say, is there something timely, like this last year or so, that like all dentists are really missing out on, that they need to pay attention to?
Yep. It's called Nextdoor. Have you heard of Nextdoor?
Oh yeah, the app.
Yeah. Yeah. So it used to be that you couldn't even really do advertising on Nextdoor. And for the people listening that don't know what Nextdoor is, it's like a local community website, but they've got one for like every community in the country. So like I'm part of one that has several thousand residents in it, and it's only local to people that live there. Well, now local businesses can now market and advertise on those channels, and it's pretty affordable. And not many other dentists are doing that right now. They haven't really figured that out yet. So we're placing our clients in these advertisements, and they're doing great. So that's something certainly within the last year that is working great for our clients.
Fantastic. And so what does that look like exactly? Just like you run an ad, someone's
Mhm.
using the app, and then is that go to like a phone number or a website, or like what's the path from someone is seeing like the dentist on this app to their booked for an appointment?
Yeah, we try to break it out into different campaigns and think of each campaign as a different type of service. So like we might have a campaign just for dental implants, right? Or a campaign just for teeth whitening, right? And so when they click on that particular campaign ad, say teeth whitening, they'll click on it and they'll actually go to a landing page that we built. We don't just send them to the website, a landing page that talks all about their teeth whitening services, any specials that they have. And there's a phone number on it that we track phone calls that go through. And then there's also a form online if they want to just, fill out a form and send it in. We track that as well. And there's also an online chat button where they can actually speak with somebody at the front desk through chat if they prefer to do it that way.
Man, you thought of everything, and I feel like, man, it's only 7 minutes into our conversation. We're both going at such breakneck speeds. I feel like this is kind of like a rapid fire session,
Right.
as we're kind of like talking about all these things. And so you're mentioning all these things like monitoring phone calls and landing pages. And so I imagine that a dentist out there at this point will be thinking, well, what's like the cost involved? And I know that there's probably like different levels of packages, but like, what's the general cost involved? And then what's the timeline? Because I'm sure that like there's a period of time, like you said, of like figuring out that client, and then
Yeah.
establishing things and letting ads and things run. So like what kind of budgets are we talking and what kind of timelines?
Yeah, you're right. It varies. Some clients, probably 70% of our clients bring us on to run the whole show, kind of head to toes. We're like the full-on marketing department for them. And about 30% of them will just kind of say, you know what, I really want to do some Facebook ads or some Google ads. Can you just run that campaign for me? Or can you just build a website for me? And we do some of that work, kind of piecework as well. And pricing just really, we don't have like standardized gold, silver, bronze packaging. It's impossible to do that because every market's different in competitiveness. And San Francisco versus like Strasburg, Colorado, for instance, way two different populations. It'll make it way easier in Strasburg for us to get somebody ranked and visible online than it will in San Francisco. So San Francisco's budget will be quite a bit more money. But we have clients that spend a few $100s with us a month, not that many, but we have probably the sweet point is a few $1,000s a month. Just kind of depending on what's going on.
Okay, fair enough. And since we're mentioning clients, it's always fun to talk about like success stories, right? Where we can talk you and your team up, and especially when there, like, say you found a practice that really needed help and really like had a few things working, but not everything. And so, do you have any fun success stories like that where there was like a before and an after, and your team jumped in and just like really made it a well-oiled machine?
Yep, absolutely. This is the pride and the joy of doing this. We've done this a few times now where a client has come to us and they're kind of on their last rope. They're like, we're struggling. This particular one I'm thinking of is, we took over a dental practice. We bought it. We've got this debt. His patient base is just going away. They're not actually coming to us. We need help. Right. And so over about a course of a year, we turned them into not only being hugely successful with one practice, but within that year, they actually bought another practice. And that one is doing gangbusters as well. And we've had multiple clients, do that, rebound their current practice, grow it. And then if they are the type that likes to expand, we've had several that have gone on and bought other practices. So it's a great success story. And those are the ones that, keep you smiling every day when you come into work.
Well, fantastic. And I mean, speaking of rebounding, there's this whole pandemic thing that who knows if it's come and gone, but either way, it disrupted a lot of us in a lot of ways from like occupancy. But it seemed like so many businesses figured out the internet, figured out the apps, figured out like appointment systems and getting people in and out the door. And I think just as a marketer in general, who I like marketing, but like the dental space doesn't really interest me personally that much, but it's still interesting to see like what's being done, especially in these niches where it's really dialed in. So have you had to adjust with your clients or had to like improve their process at all with all this pandemic stuff happening?
We haven't changed much in the process, but what did help us, I mean, every dental practice in the country pretty much shut down for at least 30 days and some 60 to 90 days. So basically every one of our clients saw no new patients for a minimum of 30 days. Okay, so a good chunk of those said, hey, Chris, we've got no money coming in, so I can't pay you. So we took the strategy of, okay, we see light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't look great right now, but we are going to come out of this at some point. So we don't want you to lose progress in marketing based on, the next 30 to 60 days. So we took the kind of I don't know the best way to put it, but kind of the scary step of saying, look, we're going to keep working for you. We're not going to charge you anything until you're back up and running and seeing new patients again, but we're going to keep your marketing. We're not going to let off the accelerator at all. And it worked out. I mean, of the people that paused with us, about 90% of them wound up coming back. It seemed to build a great relationship with them because they were very glad that we took the time and the money to keep investing in them, even though that they weren't bringing money in and they weren't paying us. But during that time, we didn't lay anybody off. We didn't let anybody go. I just kind of dug my heels in, and we took, when a lot of people didn't have much to do, like particular departments, we really took the time of looking at our process and procedures. in terms of, how we get work done, how we can be more efficient. And we were able to realign a lot of work to streamline our process a little bit more so that we can handle a few more clients and still have a small team. So that allowed us to refine our internal processes and just build mad loyalty with our current patients or current clients. And it's worked out well.
Awesome. So instead of panicking, or instead of shutting everything down, you said, we'll keep doing it, but you as the client don't have to pay us until you back up and running. And we'll also turn this into a positive by figuring out how to do a better job here. So like, fantastic. And so kind of diving into some of your services and things like that, the lead flow, lead management thing, that's really interesting, because like one thing that blew my mind as a little kid, I think I was maybe like 10 years old, was the dentist had me address a postcard to myself as the reminder for the appointment in like 6 months or a year or something. And so I totally forgot. And then a year later, when a postcard showed up, it appeared there in my handwriting. And it also makes me think about in the present day, I sort of dropped out with my dentist. Like I was going to our dentist like two or three times a year. And then the person that would usually see me, she went on vacation. And then when she came back, we couldn't get her schedules figured out and just fell out of it. And then years passed and they never followed up with me. And if they had, I probably would have gone like 5 or 6 times since then. And it seems like there's a lot of just really simple things like that, especially if there's software and reminders involved. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about what this whole like lead generation, lead management stuff is all about with dentists?
Yeah, it's awesome. Obviously I'm biased because I kind of created it, but what we found is exactly what you just talked about. Sometimes, like for instance, let's just use this as an example. Let's say somebody signs up for more information about being a new patient with your practice. They fill out a form online, right? That gets forwarded to you. Well, you follow up with them, no answer. You send them an email, no response. Well, the thinking behind that is that it's very easy to fill out one of those forms, but then it kind of buyer's remorse kicks in because nobody's thrilled about going to the dentist. It's just the way it is. And they keep putting it off. They see who's calling them. They see who's emailing them. They're like, I don't really want to go. I'll put it off. Well, most dental practices don't have a system in place or the personnel to be able to follow up 5, 6, 7 times, which study shows is what it takes to actually get some of these patients into your chair. They might call once or send an email once, but that's about it. That's all they have set up. So we've created a system that will actually follow up with them in an appropriate amount of time so that we're not overdoing it and, just trying to harass them. But we have a system that will automatically follow up with them so the front desk doesn't have to until we are able to connect them with the front desk, and then our sequence stops. So front desk personnel don't have to worry about constant follow-ups. We take care of that for them. On the flip side of that, though, when somebody fills out a form online or, sends in whatever, you have a 391% better chance of getting them into your chair if you can respond to that lead within 1 minute. Okay. And this is kind of for all types of small businesses, not just dentistry, but the quicker you can respond to an online lead, the better. So if you get that lead notification and you might wait a few hours to call them back, there's a good chance you're not going to get them, because think about it. They're probably on Google or some list looking for a dentist. They reach out, and they keep going down the list, right? Well, it's going to be kind of the first person that gets back to them is going to have a really good chance of getting them in the chair. So we've created that same system, is if during business hours they fill out a form or whatever, it actually automatically calls the front desk and says, hey, Chris has filled out a form off of Facebook. Press 1 to connect with him now. The front desk presses 1, and within 60 seconds of that person filling out the form, they're able to connect with that lead immediately. And we're seeing that is driving huge conversion rates and getting a lot more of those online leads in chairs. So, and there's a lot more that this lead system does, but those are two of the biggest features probably.
That's amazing. That's mind-blowing. And in our conversation today, and in thinking about the way that you and your team break down the things that are needed, like with the leads and the SEO, just what comes to mind is that there are so many businesses out there, especially dentists, where things are going great, but just kind of almost by chance, just like they've maybe lucked into it. And that there are so many things that could be like repeatedly, predictably just done and systematized, so that way it just happens without anyone having to think about it. Your team just handles it. It's a thing that just happens. And I like your mindset here of like taking things to the extreme and almost being superhuman. I mean, having someone fill out a form and within a minute to get a phone call from any business, right? Any kind of like contractor, home service, dentist,
Right.
anything, to get a phone ringing in a minute. I mean, it's a impressive, amazing, and easy enough to do with the right software, the right system. And if there's someone at the front desk who's working 40 hours a week anyway, why not plug into that when it's possible, when they're just playing on Facebook anyway? So like, this is so many cool things for us to be thinking about. And so if someone out there in podcast land is watching or listening, they say, a lot of this makes sense. I'm super duper interested in Kickstart Dental. I want to find out what you guys are all about. I want to get a conversation going. What's the next step here? If someone says, I'm in, I want to contact Chris and his team and get a phone call back in 1 minute or less, what's the next step?
Yeah, just go to our website, kickstartdental.com. There's a button there for a free strategy session. I do all the strategy sessions, the initial ones, so it would be with me personally. And we just kind of go over what your practice is into, what's going on, what your goals are, and then we kind of take it from there.
Fantastic. Short and sweet. Go there right now, kickstartdental.com. And as we wrap up, wind down our conversation, as people are going and typing in kickstartdental.com, even before the episode's over, just so that way the browser tab's there, it's on your phone and all that stuff. Do you think there's anything that either like we left out of our talk today, Chris, or anything that you just want to say as some final parting words of advice?
Yeah, I think it's my final words of advice would be to take action. If you want to grow your practice, or any local business that's out there listening to this or watching this, take action, do something. Doing nothing isn't going to grow your business, right? Do something, take action. I don't care if it's going out and going door to door and trying to sell your whatever service you have, or sending out letters to targeted customers. Do something that's going to grow your business.